So the new strain was only identified scientifically on Friday. The Prime Minister was briefed on Saturday morning about the existence of the strain. Immediately the United Kingdom was informed. Our public health authorities also started to look back to see if they'd identified similar types of strain. We identified one case going back to November, which I was notified of late last night. And this morning I was informed in COVID Platinum, together with others, of the detail of that new strain and its presence in Gibraltar. I briefed the Cabinet on it, and I was going to inform the Parliament this afternoon, although unfortunately the story got out through the international press because our public health authorities speak to the UK public health authorities, and there was a miscalculation about what time Gibraltar was making the announcement. What we need to do now is see if there is more of that strain in Gibraltar. We mustn't simply believe that because our numbers are higher, it is that strain. It could be that our numbers are higher because of that strain. It could also be that the behavioral effects of the way that we're seeing people become more lax, more apathetic in their approach to the control of the virus may also be leading to the increase in the numbers. So there could additionally be a combination of the two, the new strain and the lax attitude that we've seen in some people in respect of the way that they wear their masks, where they wear their masks, etc. All of that could be combining to the spike that we've seen in the past 5 days.
How difficult to introduce measures in a climate where not everyone is in favour of them?
Well, I think that the vast majority of the people of Gibraltar, are in favour of these new measures. They understand why we're putting them. They understand that we're being very careful in how we calibrate them, that we're only doing what we have to do, and that we're doing it very hesitatingly. We don't do this because we wish to. We're doing it more in sadness than in any desire to affect anybody's civil liberties, especially at this time of year. There's been unanimity in the Parliament today that these measures should be adopted. Of course, there have been political issues and debate, but there's been unanimity about the need for these measures. And look, there's always going to be a discordant voice. That's the beauty of a democracy. People are entitled to express their views, however completely wrong they may be. And I respect that people express their views. I just hope that the majority do understand, and I think the vast majority do understand that we're doing this because we have to, with an extraordinarily heavy heart. Look, Christine, I give up on 2020. I don't pretend that we've seen the worst of this yet in 2020. 2020 has surprised us too much. Changing from 2020 to 21 is not going to be magical in any way. We're going to continue to see the tail of this into the early part of 2021. But together, the people of Gibraltar will get through this. United, we will get through this. We got through the worst of March, April, May when we were really blind and in the dark about this. Now that science is more with us and we have a better view of what's going on and we know which measures work and which measures don't work, I'm sure that we will get to the end of this.
Strong words for non-compliant bars and restaurants. You say they won't be getting any government support. Who are they?
Look, the majority of the catering establishments have, in despair, wanted to work with the government, unhappy about the restrictions that we're imposing. For goodness sake, we're closing down people's livelihoods. On Friday, we closed them down in the evening. Now we're closing them down completely as from tomorrow morning. That is to say, they close at 7 p.m. tonight. They don't open again at least until the 11th of January. And that must be despairing. And I fully understand that. I am a person, you just need to look at me, who likes to go out and enjoy a meal in one of our fantastic restaurants. So this is the last thing that I want to do. We're going to make sure that we make good the losses that people are suffering. In fact, every cloud has a silver lining. We're going to get them through the usually difficult January and we're going to get them through the usually difficult February. But we are also going to end up damning the usually better months, which are December. So, of course, I fully understand that. And the majority, as ever, the vast majority, as ever, cooperating with the government. A couple, cooking a snooker at the government and pretending that they can go off and do what they like and not follow rules which are being imposed for very good reason and in the proper and appropriate way. Well, look, those few are not going to have the compensation that we offer. If they think that defiance is the best way to cooperate with the government in the face of a public health emergency, if they want to put profit over the public health of our nation, the government is not going to contribute to that profit.
Can this not be seen as sort of punishing them?
Of course, it can be seen as demonstrating that the government supports those who support the community, who act in keeping with the best interests of the community. We are talking about decisions being made for reasons of life and death. This is not a policy issue. This is not, I'd rather the blue team or I'd rather the red team. This is not about anything which is partisan. This is about taking measures when you have to look after the interests of the lives of the people of Gibraltar, in particular the most vulnerable. And when you act in that way, and you get people reluctantly with you, look, of course you accept that they're reluctantly with you, but when you see people who act in defiance, well, all you say is, well, look, fair enough, those who comply with the rules will get the compensation. Those who do not comply with the rules will not get the compensation. Let me give you a very simple, straightforward, linear example. In March, when we helped all businesses in Gibraltar, we helped all businesses in Gibraltar who were up to date with their PAYE and their social security. We didn't help those who hadn't made their contributions to the government for years and then expected the government to put its hand in the pocket of the taxpayer and get from the social security and PAYE of others to pay them to protect them. Look, that's fairness. This is not punishment. This is fairness. And you have to act in a moment like this fairly. You cannot allow unfairness to reign. And those who haven't wanted to act with the government and they've wanted to defy the government cannot put their hands up and seek compensation.
Well, talking to the UK government about the travel corridor and the air links, keeping those air links.
Already the Deputy Chief Minister is talking to the Convent and to the Foreign Office about the travel corridors. We've wanted to ensure that our European partners can see that Gibraltar is not going to become a backdoor to immigration from the United Kingdom in a way that circumvents the purposes of the restrictions that some of them are putting in place. We would never shut an air corridor with the United Kingdom. At the worst moments of infection in the United Kingdom, Gibraltar did not shut down the air link with the UK or the air corridor with the UK, both of those, and at very difficult times in Gibraltar's spikes in the past, the United Kingdom has maintained our air corridor and not shut it down. So I think rather than making unilateral decisions the one for the other, we will be working together to see what measures we have to adopt at this stage to protect those who are resident in Gibraltar, those who are resident in the United Kingdom, and those who might fly into Gibraltar in order to access the area around Gibraltar and ensure that those people are acting in keeping with the rules in our neighbouring EU member state, in Spain, so that Gibraltar cannot be used to circumvent the rules in Spain. Senor Avalos, who is the Spanish Minister for Infrastructure, who has responsibility for airports in Spain, has said that, of course, Spain would not permit Gibraltar to become a backdoor for the United Kingdom, its entry into Spain, and Gibraltar would not want to be characterised in that way. We all have to join up and work together on these issues to ensure that we each promote respect for our respective rules and work together.
Well, minutes before you gave your address in Parliament, Spain announced that it would be closing its frontiers with the UK and reinforcing the Gibraltar measures at the Gibraltar-Spanish border. I know that you've rushed from Parliament to do this interview, but have you had any opportunity to talk to the Spanish authorities and find out what exactly these measures are going to be?
Well, I have spoken in the digital sense. In diplomacy these days, as I've said before, is all about WhatsApp, etc. Remarkable though that seems. And I must tell you, I had advance notification from the most senior levels of the Spanish Foreign Office that these measures were going to be announced. And there's obviously a desire to work with Gibraltar to ensure that any additional controls are designed to avoid Gibraltar being used as a backdoor for entry from the United Kingdom, to ensure and give business efficacy to the ability of people who need to move from Gibraltar to Spain without coming from the United Kingdom to be able to do so. We've worked very carefully with Spain in the past. Quite uncharacteristically, the Spanish have been very helpful in that, a new approach, and in particular this year when it's been most needed. You know, I've spoken to the Spanish Minister of the Interior before. In March, I spoke to the Spanish Minister of Foreign Affairs directly on these issues. Today I've been in touch with the highest echelons of the Spanish Foreign Ministry to arrange these matters, hopefully in slower order, and ensure that Spain does not feel that Gibraltar is being used as some sort of trapdoor for their measures, and Gibraltar does not feel it's somehow being unfairly excluded from the ability to access Spain. That this is work that we need to undertake now, and the good thing to communicate to your viewers is that before things were announced publicly, we were already in contact about how we can mitigate for each other the consequences of the effects that one may have to happen.
So people now unsure of what's going to happen at the frontier, whether it's going to be just Spanish residents. When do you think you'll have an answer for them?
Well, I don't know that it's my responsibility to have an answer for them as to what the immigration rules of Spain will be, but I do know that I will be seeking to influence any decisions that are made in order to ensure that those who have legitimate reason for going to Spain are able to do so, especially if they're not doing so in a way that breaches the purpose of the Spanish rules in respect of the United Kingdom. That's what we'll be trying to do. I cannot give you any estimate whatsoever about whether I'll know more in a few hours or whether it'll take a few days, or indeed whether I will be able to influence that positively, or I'll simply be informed, because it could be that despite my best efforts, decisions are made against the advice I might give of what the effects of our measures will be and how that might affect the measures that might be put in place in Spain.
There is a precedent where entry from Gibraltar to Spain was allowed with a Gibraltarian ID card. Are these the sort of measures that you'll be revisiting, looking at again?
Well, it's indeed possible that the Spanish authorities themselves might decide that this is the right way to determine who is resident in Gibraltar versus who is trying to access Spain through Gibraltar but is not a resident of Gibraltar. And the Gibraltar ID card, which is today validated for travel purposes in the European Union and may not be after the 31st of December because of another minor matter that's happening in the background and we all seem to have forgotten today, but that could still be the best evidence to assist the Spanish authorities to know that the persons manifesting at the frontier are not persons who are otherwise using Gibraltar Airport to access Spain.